In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to take a Figma design like this and build it up in Bubble. I have here a Figma template of an NFT marketplace that I purchased off ThemeForest, and I'm going to take you through each step of building at least the center bit of the page in Bubble. So first off, we're going to be using the new responsive engine. As I'm recording this in June, and I believe in the next month or so every app by default will be using the new responsive engine. And the first thing I always do is work out what does my page width need to be, and so I'm going to do that by selecting an element on the left and an element on the furthest right, and Figma gives me the value there, 1200. Just close that. So layout is going to be 1240 because I like to leave a nice 20 pixel gap down either side of my page, and I'm going to make this a column. For appearance's sake, let's just put in the header, although I'm going to be focusing on this. The header is, if I click on it, it is 70 pixels high, so I'm going to make it a row. Width is going to be fixed width of 100 because it's edge to edge, and then the height is going to be a fixed width of 70 pixels. Okay, right, now let's put the page background in. So I select the topmost element, and I can see there is my page background. It's a nice grey. Make sure that that's set to 100, otherwise it adds a slight transparency to it. This is going to be white just so it stands out. There we go. Let's just check that. Cool, looking good. Right, let's work on this center box. So I'm going to add in a group and align it into the center. And then I know the background is going to be white. There we go, just checking, it's not an off-white, it is white. And I can see that the border radius is 30 pixels. And that there's also a shadow. A drop shadow. And so by going over to inspect, I can see the values expressed as CSS. The left to right here, you read there's top to bottom in Bubble. So I'm going to take the color first. So background, the box shadow color, and hit enter. And Bubble converts the RGBA value to hex color with a transparency opacity figure. And then these numbers here, that is your left to right, top to bottom. So it goes 0, 20, 30. And then if the value is not given there, you just leave it blank as 0. So there I've got my shadow. And then let's work on margins. The spacing between them is 100 there, and I'm just doing this having selected this item. I'm then moving my mouse over other elements on the page, so it's 100 and 120. Brilliant. Right, let's work within this element. So we have these images. They're all in the same group, and so Figma handily allows me to go ahead and click export shape, and it will export as a PNG all of these images as a single file. And I've already gone ahead and done that. So I can go image, and then I can drag the image in. Let's sort out the layouts here. So it's going to be a column, and I've not sorted out the width. So the width, the max width, for me, I always want to be thinking about what happens when the page shrinks. I always build with the intention that an app will be responsive, and I find that it's helpful to work that in now rather than having to go back and debug unresponsive elements later. So that's why you'll never see me, or rarely see me, using fixed or even align to parent, because if you want it to be responsive, it really needs to be row or column. So max width is 140. And I'm going to get rid of the min width, 840 max width, and align it into the middle. Okay, and then there's a little bit of padding around the inside of here. So just exploring how the designers created this element here. All of the internal elements. So by selecting an element and then holding Option on Mac and then moving into the space, it tells me what the so margins are looking outside of an element. Paddings are going to be on the inside of an element. So I'm going to be working with padding for the white group, that's the background. So that's going to be 43 on top, and then I'm just going to go with 77 on the sides. 43. I'll put 42 on the bottom for now. Might change that if it doesn't look good. And then 77. There we go. And I'm going to align that to the center. Brilliant. So there's something a little bit off with the size there. Let's try and work out what that's happening. So here the width is 685. Okay, there we go. My fixed width. So 865. No, 685. Oh, I was trying to get that right. 685. Now the issue is that's not going to be responsive. So the little trick that I'd use here is to use the ratios, but then just put in the pixel values. So 685,155, 685,155, and that way the aspect ratio is going to stay correct, and it's not going to squash the image, but the image will shrink as the width of its container is reduced. Right, let's work on some typography. So we have in here text login for NFTs. And by double clicking on it, I go straight to the element, and the font is Inter, and it's bold, and it's 24 in size. This is using a numerical value for weight. Bold is always 700. And we need a color. Brilliant. And also it's got a letter spacing change. In most cases you won't have that. So 0.2. Although it's a percentage. But yeah, you get the idea. And this is going to be centered within the text. And one way of also doing that is to ensure that the text box width is 100. Now we need to do a little bit on the padding. Sorry, the margin, which is, let's call that 14. Brilliant. And then we have some text below. Oh, and let's get rid of the min height there. So this text below is going to be width 100. Yeah, we're just preparing for it to be responsive. And so that is Inter 15. Now it says the font weight is mixed. That's because of the register on the end. I actually had to do that. Let's get the text first. So because the majority of it is regular, that's what I'm going to go with. And we need a little bit of a space between these two. Let's call it 9. Okay, right, let's get the register bit at least styled separately. So you can put BB code directly in here. BB code is it's like a variation of HTML, but with slightly different syntax. And you can use that to style elements in a text element in Bubble. And so I know that by putting those square brackets around the B, I get bold. And I also know that I can do the same with color, and it's color equals. And I need to zoom in a little bit. Get the color. Oh, and I'm going to need the hash, I think. And then to close color. There you go. So I would be tempted, although you've only made the register section look like a link, just for ease, I would be tempted to build a workflow off this whole element. So if a user was to click anywhere in this line, they would go through to your registration page. Okay, now let's look at, we have 2 columns. So let's create a group to contain them. So the group width is going to be 100%, and it's going to be a row because it's going to contain 2 more groups in order to create that column layout. Let's get the margin correct, space between them. Let's call that 40. So margin on the top, it's going to be 40. Let's just give it slightly more height, something to work with. We're then going to drop 2 groups into here. In fact, we'll do 1 and then we'll copy and paste it. So the group is going to be a column, and we're not going to give it a fit width to content or a width in here, because that will allow us to copy and paste. And we then get 2 groups next to each other, and we'll want a I'm not going to do this bit for now, otherwise this video would be too long, but let's just work in the gap of 100. And I love this feature of the new responsive engine: apply gap between elements, column gap 100. And then you can see that we now have a gap of 100 between our 2 columns. Right, let's put in some inputs. So the inputs here, just double clicking down, we've got a background color and we've got no border. But we do have a border radius of 6. Except it's not solid, and then I just removed the conditional. So if you put the mouse over it, does the border color change? I'm just going to ignore that for now. And so it is, well, the width is the full width of the group that it's in. So the width is going to be 100% again because we want it to be responsive. And then the height is 54. And let's just take the font, so it's Inter Regular 15. And there's quite an indentation, and we also want to have that icon in there. So let's work out what the indentation is. So in fact, I think I'm just going to eyeball it. Now, the way to get the icon in there is to place the field inside of a group. So group this element in an align to parent. Because we're wanting to layer, we need to put the icon on top. So the align to parent means that we can take an icon and we can place it in, and it's just an envelope. And then the size of the icon, let's go for 16. We won't govern the height. And it's indented from the side by 20. So I can apply a margin to the left. And then all I need to do on my input is apply a large enough horizontal padding, let's say 30. No, it's going to need to be more than that. Slightly too much. Now there is a downside to this, which is way too much. Which is that the padding here is applied to either side, which in this instance I think for an email input is going to behave a little bit on the weird side for a user, because if I start typing in here, you'll notice that it stops short, which doesn't look too bad, but I've just done it to illustrate one way of putting the icon there, but like I say, it's not perfect. Now let's put in the other fields. So I want to select, that's my column, and then that's my field with an icon. So this is the part I want to copy and paste. And then here I'm going to apply the same gap trick, which is 10 pixels. And probably a padlock, yep, I was going to guess that. And this needs to be set to email. This needs to be set to password. Right, we've got a checkbox and a forgot password link. So within the column group, I need to create another group. I'm going to do it in between just because it's easier to drop it in and then make it last. And so this is going to be a row. The width is 100%, just a bit more height so I can work with it. I'm going to put a checkbox element in here, and that's going to say remember me. Have a look through our other videos to see how you can make a more attractive checkbox, but for time I'm just putting in this one, and also you'd obviously update the fonts, but I'm just going to erase through these last bits. Let's get rid of the fixed width. In fact, we'll make it fit width to content. Get rid of that, and then we need to add in a link. And I want the spacing of this row to be the space in between. Puts it right to the end. What's the text say? Forgot your password. Password. I would then link that to my no, I wouldn't. So the reset password page is okay, a little bit of a tangent. The reset password page is for people to arrive on when they have followed the reset password in the email that's triggered from a workflow. So actually I don't want a link. I need it to, because a link doesn't let me trigger a workflow. I need it to be text because I want, when you click on it, to trigger a workflow. fit to content, and then let's just update the style for this one. So it's the on ice blue color, medium and 14. So medium is lower than bold, but higher than regular. I tend to just do whichever one that I feel looks the best. Okay, and then we need a button. So I want the button to go into my column. Log in. And let's style this button. So the width is going to be 100. And then I want a fixed height of fixed height. Where is it going to show me that time? Top height, padding. What am I missing? Where's the height for this? $70. No, that's okay. So show me the padding. Not quite encountered an element like this in Figma before. Where is? Okay, I'm just going to go with a height of 60. It tends to be somewhere between 50 and 60. Looks good for a button. And let's style it. So we have a gradient. Okay, that's got a little while before previewing it. Let's check it. Good, that's looking good. And let's work on our other column now. We have got 3 buttons, but the buttons have got an icon in them, so I'm going to build the button using a group. And so my group has a border radius of 2 with this color reduced to just 8% opacity. So I have to put it in there and then drag that down to roughly 8. I'm just eyeballing it. And 2. And the border radius is 6. And it's going to be a row, and the height is 60. And it's going to be 100%. Okay, before I start adding in the column, so the icon and the text, let's have a look at the padding in here. So 21 top and bottom, and then from the left and right 30. So let's just check we're working on the right item. Yep, with my group. So 21 top and bottom, and then 30 left and right. I'm going to use one of the built-in icons, but you could use an image here if you wanted to. Google. I think I've mistyped the padding in there. Okay. I need to get rid of my fixed height. There we go. Oops. That's better. What's the gap between these two parts? The icon and the text is 22. And yeah, I really love using the gap and the gap field here, and then text. Got the color for it, and it is insert regular, it's 15. And then so we can center it nicely, we'll get rid of the min height and copy and paste this. Paste it inside by accident there. So just undid that and check we're in our column, paste again, and then the column will give the gap of 14. Perfect. This video has already gone on a little bit longer than I intended it, but obviously you would go ahead and you'd update these. But I hope that somewhere in the mix there you've learned something helpful for how to take the numerical data and the color data that Figma shows you and translate that into building up all your elements from scratch in Bubble.